It's June. Happy holidays. The other 120 or so odd days, and I do mean odd, designated to see and hear the many flowers that have blossomed in the West's man-made LGBTQIA2S plus garden are important, or the transcendency, is it more proper to call it the T LGBTQIA2S plus garden? I'm actually old enough to remember when it was the more modest GLSEN. That was when I was a GDI looking to graduate from NU ASAP to start paying down my IOUs. Anyway, as I was saying, the calendar is chock full of days we honor those for their heroism in the fields of carnal relations and cosplay, but June is particularly special. In this month, we stand as one nation under Barack Obama, divisible by our political identities with libertinism and lawfare for all. We fly our flags. We post our yard signs demanding kindness or else. We parade around our graffitied streets, enjoying the local village people impersonators simulate sex acts for the kids, perhaps even on the kids. We attend retrospectives of Robert Mapplethorpe's groundbreaking artistry to remind ourselves how far we've come since the bad old days when some people didn't think taking pictures of a naked dude with a bullwhip up his anus was worthy of a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts. Can you believe we were ever so bigoted, hard-hearted, parsimonious, mean-spirited, hateful, ignorant, intolerant, and exclusionary? And we take the Mayor London Breed Challenge to name and offer thanks for at least 3 magical drag queens in our community, just as she does in San Francisco.
And if you could name 3 LGBTQ advisors for your campaign and 3 drag queens in San Francisco.
The whole month is an end-to-end bacchanal of love, inclusion, and tolerance. The sarcasm here is mine, but the caricature of the LGBTQIA2S+++ movement is actually theirs. It's their caricature. I don't consider gay people, for example, to be one-dimensional human beings whose only value is with whom they sleep. They do. And the they of whom I speak are the identitarian political ideologues and their apparatchiks who use sex and identity the same way that Jesse Jackson used race, the same way that Marx used class, which is to undermine a free society. I understand millions of useful idiots who fly the rainbow flag and adorn their social media profiles with Human Rights Campaign approved emojis do not understand the gay and trans rights movement to be fundamentally political because they, are useful idiots. They are at the intersection of arrogance, which manifests itself as moral superiority, and ignorance, which manifests itself as not knowing anything about which they speak. There's a lot of accidents at that intersection. Look, I'm not a prude, and the next time I present myself as some paragon of moral virtue will be the first time. But let's get past the sentimental sophistry and take a sober look here, shall we? The sexual identity political movement, as a revolutionary one in the West, is more than a century old. Some of you have heard of the Frankfurt School or were philosophy or psych majors, or those of you who were philosophy or psych majors may have heard or be familiar with the names Marcuse and Foucault. But for the purposes of this brief discussion, let me focus on Sigmund Freud's prize student. That would be Wilhelm Reich. It was Reich who coined the term sexual revolution 4 decades before hippies were calling for it at Woodstock. In doing so, Reich was not offering social commentary, but rather marketing a plan for the future. Like Marx, Reich knew that the advance of Marxism began with atheism. The church must be destroyed. Like Marx, Reich said that Christianity only survives through tradition, being passed down from one generation to the next through family. This is why Marxists everywhere and always have targeted the family first and still do. Why wouldn't they? It's worked quite well for their purposes, hasn't it? As my friend Doug Johnson, the editor of Touchstone magazine, wrote, Reich correctly surmised that the way to knock the props out from underneath the American family would be to condition Western man to see contraception, fornication, adultery, pornography, sodomy, etc. as perfectly normal and not unhealthy things. As he saw sex education in schools as the best way to, quote, divest parents of their moral authority, unquote. The late Italian philosopher Augusto Del Noce described Reich's book, The Sexual Revolution, as, quote, the Mein Kampf of permissivism. How about that for a book jacket blurb? In his review for the far-left Slate.com of Christopher Turner's 2011 book about Reich's legacy entitled Adventures in Orgasmatron, Psychiatrist Peter Kramer properly observed, and I'm quoting him, when Wilhelm Reich coined the phrase, the sexual revolution, he meant transformation in every sphere: health, marriage, economics, morality, and government. It was in sex, he believed, that we found the integrated self, liberated. Transformation in every sphere. That is necessarily and fundamentally a political exercise, isn't it? Kramer, in that same review, essentially conceded the point when he suggested the following in his assessment of how Reich's influence lives on, writing, "It is largely an Oprah in the broad dissemination of advice about intimacy and self-fulfillment. The culture of confession has not led to political nirvana, but we may, I do, see a link between Oprah's investment in emotional connection and her endorsement and our election of Obama." Again, Peter Kramer's word. So perhaps America did not embrace Reich's psychological revolution as quickly or starkly as he desired, but we're flying his flags now. I'm Dan Proft with a Counterculture Commentary. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and please leave a comment in the comments section. We'd love to hear your thoughts.